You have been searching for something your entire life. You may not even be able to name it, but you feel it. A restlessness. A hunger that no achievement has ever fully satisfied. A sense that something is missing, even in your best moments. You searched for it in relationships, in success, in more money, in new places, in better versions of yourself. And every time you arrived at the destination you were certain would finally give you peace, it wasn't there. So you searched again. Most people spend their whole lives in this loop, running towards something that keeps moving. And the devastating truth is this: no one ever taught you to stop. No one ever told you that the direction was wrong from the beginning. But 2,000 years ago, a man stood in the dust of ancient Galilee and said something so radical that it shook the entire known world. He did not say, "Seek harder." He did not say, "Go further." He pointed inward. And in the language he actually spoke, the language of Aramaic, the meaning of his words cuts so deeply that most translations have never fully captured it. Jesus said in Luke 17:21, and in the original Aramaic, that the kingdom of God is not coming with signs to be observed. It is not here or there, because the kingdom of God is already within you. Not will be, not could be, already is. This is not a metaphor. This is not spiritual poetry. In Aramaic, this statement is a declaration of present reality, and once you understand what it truly means, the search that has exhausted you your entire life will finally, completely end. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you changes everything. Why your entire life you were taught to search in the wrong direction from the moment you were born. You were placed inside a system that told you everything meaningful exists outside of you. Happiness is a goal to be reached. Peace is a condition to be created. Love is something to be earned, and God, if He exists, is somewhere far above, distant, requiring permission to approach. This is not ancient wisdom. This is the inheritance of centuries of misunderstanding. Religious, cultural, and psychological layered so deeply that most people never question it. The seeking becomes identity. The hunger becomes who you are, and the idea of already being complete, already being enough, already containing what you are desperate to find, it feels almost offensive. But consider this: Jesus did not build temples. He repeatedly walked away from institutional religion. He healed people in fields, on roads, in the middle of meals. He talked about a kingdom that had no walls, no entry fee, and no gatekeepers. And the language he used, Aramaic, the Semitic tongue of the ancient Near East, was not the language of distance. It was the language of intimacy, of the interior world, of a God who does not live above the clouds, but within the breath of every living being. In Aramaic, the word for prayer does not primarily mean petition. It means a return, a turning back towards something you already have. Every time Jesus invited his disciples to pray, he was inviting them not to reach outward, but to descend inward, toward a presence that had never actually left. The tragedy of the endless search is not that you were weak. It is that you were misdirected. And the moment you understand that direction changes everything, not gradually, not after years of effort, but now, in a single shift of awareness, the loop breaks. Jesus knew this, and in the chapters ahead, what he actually said in Aramaic is about to make that absolutely clear. Malkuta. The kingdom that is not a place. There is a word at the center of almost everything Jesus taught. It appears over and over in the Gospels, always translated as kingdom. But in the original Aramaic, this word is Malkuta, and it does not mean a territory. It does not mean a location. It does not mean a future state reserved for the righteous after death. Malkuta means sovereignty. It means the ruling presence of something alive, active, and immediate. In the Semitic understanding of the world, a king was not defined by his geography. He was defined by his reign. His authority was not a place. It was a dynamic, living power that moved with him, through him, as him. When Jesus said the Malkuta of God is within you, he was not describing a room somewhere inside your chest. He was declaring that the sovereign, creative, healing power of the living God is actively present in you, not waiting, not dormant, not conditional on your worthiness. Already reigning, already real. This is the teaching that the Gospel of Luke preserves in chapter 17, verse 21, and in the Aramaic behind the Greek translation. The force of this statement is even more striking. The word translated as within in Aramaic is begakon, a word that means not merely inside, but at the very center, in the innermost place, the heart of you, the core, not the edges. Demidel. Jesus was not saying God might show up if you pray correctly. He was saying God is already at the center of your being, and the only thing between you and the experience of that reality is the direction of your attention. Most people spend their lives at the edges of themselves, reacting to the world, chasing results, trying to force life to give them what they need. And all along, at the very center, untouched, unshaken, fully present, the Malkuta waits, not far away, in the deepest part of what you already are. Shekinah, the presence that never left. And the best is yet to come in the next chapters. You'll discover what could change everything for you. There is a concept woven through the ancient Semitic world that most Western Christianity has almost entirely forgotten. It is called Shekinah, and in the tradition that Jesus was born into, it described the tangible, dwelling presence of God. Not a theological idea. Not a simbala, a presence so real that people trembled, wept, and were transformed simply by entering it. In the Hebrew Scriptures, the Shekinah was said to dwell in the tabernacle, then in the temple of Solomon. But there was always a tension in this teaching, a tension that the prophets felt deeply. Could the living God truly be contained in a building made by human hands? Isaiah asked it directly. Solomon himself, at the dedication of the temple, acknowledged that even the heavens cannot contain God, how much less a house of cedar and stone. Jesus walked straight into this tension and resolved it. In John chapter 2, when confronted with the temple in Jerusalem, he pointed away from the building and toward the body. "Destroy this temple," he said, "and in 3 days I will raise it up." He was not talking about architecture. In Aramaic, the word for temple and the word for the human body share the same root of sacred dwelling. Jesus was declaring that the true place of divine habitation had always been the living human person. The Shekinah, the glowing, transforming, healing presence of God, was never meant to live in a building you visit on certain days. It was meant to live in you. It already does. And this is not a new doctrine. This is the original understanding that Jesus came to restore. When anxiety grips you, when uncertainty overwhelms you, when you feel utterly alone in the middle of a crowd, the answer is not to go somewhere else. The answer is to go deeper into the place where the Shekinah has never stopped dwelling. Understanding these frequencies is the first step, but mastering their vibration in your daily life is where the true miracle happens. I receive many messages asking for the correct pronunciation and sequence of these sounds, so I have prepared 2 sacred guides to help you bridge this gap. You can find the link pinned in the comments to begin your practical journey today. Ruach, the breath that is already the answer. Every spiritual tradition in the ancient Near East understood something that the modern world has almost completely forgotten. The breath is not merely biological. The breath is the primary point of contact between the human and the divine. And in Aramaic, and in the closely related Hebrew, the word for breath, wind, and spirit is the same word. Ruach. When Jesus spoke of the Spirit, he was not speaking of something separate from the human body. He was speaking of the living breath that moves through you in this very moment. In Genesis, God breathes into the dust, and it becomes a living soul. The Ruach of God is not distant. It is the very animating force of your existence. You are only alive because of it. Jesus referenced this in John chapter 3, in his night conversation with Nicodemus, a powerful religious leader who, despite all his knowledge, still did not understand the nature of spiritual rebirth. The Ruach, Jesus told him, blows where it will. You hear its sound, but you do not know where it comes from or where it goes. So it is with everyone born of the Spirit. This is not mystical obscurity. This is practical instruction. The Ruach, the breath, the Spirit, cannot be tracked, controlled, or earned. It is already in motion. It is already within you. What changes is not the Spirit's presence, but your awareness of it. People exhaust themselves trying to generate spiritual experiences. They attend more events, read more books, perform more rituals, desperately trying to manufacture what Jesus said is already flowing through you with every breath you take. The anxiety that drives the endless search is itself the evidence of a disconnection from something that has never actually left. When Jesus breathed on his disciples in John chapter 20 and said, "Receive the Ruach," he was not inserting something new. He was awakening them to something ancient, something already there, something they had simply stopped noticing, and that awakening is available to you. Right now, in this breath, N-A-P-H-S-H-A, the self that holds the treasure. There is one more Aramaic word that unlocks the full power of this teaching, and it may be the most personal of all. It is the word nafsha. It is the word Jesus used when he spoke about the self, the soul, the deepest identity of a human being, and in its full Aramaic meaning, nafsha is not a ghost trapped in a body. It is not a fragile religious concept. Nafsha is the living, breathing, sacred center of what you are. When Jesus said in Matthew chapter 16 verse 2, "Whoever loses their nafsha for my sake will find it," he was not speaking about he was describing the greatest paradox of inner life. The false self, the constructed identity built on fear and performance and the approval of others, must be released before the true self, the nafsha, the soul in its original glory, can be fully experienced. The treasure you have been searching for your whole life is not outside you. According to Jesus, in the very language he spoke, the treasure is the nafsha itself. It is you, in your deepest nature, as you were created to be before the world taught you to hide, to perform, to shrink, to seek. This is why the search never ends when it is directed outward. You are not looking for something to add to yourself. You are recovering something that was always already you. The restlessness, the hunger, the aching sense that something is missing. It is the nafsha calling itself home, not to a place, to itself. And here is the extraordinary promise embedded in this teaching. The moment the direction shifts, the moment you stop running outward and turn, even gently, inward, the anxiety of seeking begins to dissolve, not because you found something new, because you remembered something eternal. If this teaching is stirring a deep resonance in your heart, it is a sign that your soul is ready to return to its original blueprint. To support you in this transition, my guides explained the layers of meaning behind the first sacred words, offering you a path to clear the interference of the world. The link to access these tools is waiting for you in the pinned comment. Transformation Protocol, the return. How to end the search and begin the discovery. Every teaching Jesus gave in Aramaic was not designed to be memorized. It was designed to be lived, and the most radical act of living that he ever invited was this: stop, turn, go inward, not as an occasional spiritual exercise, but as the constant orientation of a life. The 4 words you have received in this teaching, Malkuta Shakina, Eru, Achecha, and Na Pecha, Es, Ha, Ar. Not ancient vocabulary, they are 4 doorways into the same room. The room is your interior life, and that room, according to Jesus, is where the kingdom of God already reigns, where the divine presence already dwells, where the Spirit already moves, and where your truest self already waits to be found. The transformation protocol is not complicated. It begins with a single practice. Every time the urge to search outward arises, for validation, for certainty, for peace, for meaning, pause, breathe, and recognize that the breath itself is the Ruach. The presence of God is not the destination. It is the vehicle. It is happening right now, in this moment, in you. Jesus described this not as a distant hope, but as a present reality available to anyone willing to shift their attention. In Luke 11 verse 9, he said, "Seek, and you will find." But in Aramaic, the word for seek carries the meaning of a careful, attentive turning, not a frantic chase, but a deliberate orientation. The kind of seeking that knows the treasure is close, that knows it has always been close. That moves with patience and confidence because it is not searching in the dark, it is uncovering what was always there. The life application of this teaching touches every dimension of human experience. The anxiety that will not leave you, it is fed by outward searching. The relationships that exhaust you, they are burdened by the demand that others give you what only you can find inside. The financial pressure that consumes you, it is amplified when your sense of worth depends on numbers rather than the nafsha that holds infinite value. The sense of purposelessness that haunts you, it dissolves when you realize that purpose is not a destination to be found, but a nature to be expressed, and you already have that nature. You were given it in the very act of being created. Jesus did not come to give you a religion. He came to return you to yourself, to the self that the Malkuta already to the temple where the Shekinah has never stopped glowing, to the breath where the Ruach has never stopped moving, to the Nafsha that was already holy. The search is over, not because you arrived somewhere new, because you finally looked in the right direction, and the right direction, as Jesus declared in the ancient tongue of Aramaic 2,000 years ago, with the full authority of one who knew, has always been within. For those of you who have been awakened by these teachings and felt something meaningful during this journey, we invite you to explore our sacred study guides. They were created to help you go deeper into the wisdom shared here and continue your path toward greater awareness, inner peace, and true fulfillment. The link is pinned in the first comments. And before you leave, we would love to hear from you. If you felt a shift in your energy, gained a new insight, or experienced an inner awakening during this message, write the word restoration in the comments below. Your testimony may inspire and encourage many others who are also seeking light, knowledge, and renewal in their lives. We are just scratching the surface of this ancient power. Get ready, because in our next video, I will reveal even deeper Aramaic codes that unlock spiritual authority you've never imagined. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss this unfolding revelation.